Well, good morning, everybody. It's great to have you here, all of you, especially those online with us today. We know it's a holiday weekend, but we're here, and we've been worshiping together, and it's so good to be in a house where we can honor one another. Can you say amen? Amen. You know, the life group leaders and the hosts, they're people just like you. A little fear and trepidation going in, but they just took a step of faith, and God is really honoring them. And here's one added value I'd like to submit as well to having a life group in your home, especially if you're a host. It's like bringing the presence of God in. Because really, when you think about it, people carry the presence of the Lord. It's like having the Ark of the Covenant come into your house, like Obed-Edom, blessings come. So we just want to encourage you in that. You know, the life group leaders, the hosts, everybody, the dream team, everybody serving, and all of us who are moving towards that, we are really under a mandate from the Lord out of Matthew chapter 28. And I'd like to look at that with you and just quickly review that. Matthew 28, verse 18 says this. It says, "And Jesus came and spoke to them, saying, 'All authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth.'" Now, what that means is that all authority, last week we looked at the three different types of authority that exist in the world. It was family authority, civil authority, and spiritual authority. And Jesus has all authority in heaven and on earth. So then he says, "Go therefore because of that, and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all things that I have commanded you, and lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. Amen." What we've been looking at every week are really the core of this mandate to go into the nations and to go into every part of all the nations. Now, I heard this from Pastor Chris Hodges, which really interested me, and it tied in with what I've been sharing with you. Years ago, Lauren Cunningham, who launched a ministry called Youth with a Mission, who, by the way, has been responsible for launching tens of thousands of young adults into the world with the gospel, and another man by the name of Bill Bright, who founded Campus Crusade for Christ. They were aware of one another, that they were in the same city at the same time, but they had never met. They were both vacationing, and they decided to take a day to connect with one another. Well, as it turns out, the night before they were going to meet for the first time, God individually gave each of them an open vision, which pretty much is like watching a movie. And each of them got a revelation of 7 areas of culture that every nation has. And so by way of review, those 7 areas are business, education, government, family, arts, or I would say entertainment, and even sports is kind of lumped in with that, religion or faith, and then the media. Every nation has these 7 areas, and each of us responds maybe to one or possibly 2 of those that we kind of have a burn for. And I don't want you to ignore that, because that's really the Holy Spirit probably inching you towards one of those areas in the culture, because that's how you change culture. You bring the plan of God and the message of Christ into each of those areas, and as we do that, it brings about societal change, and we will find ourselves discipling the nations. Can you say amen? Now, today we're going to focus on 2 areas, family, and the second one is faith. So I'd like you to get ready. We're going to be taking some notes. We gave you paper notes. You can find digital notes on our app. You can download our app, our Metro app, and you can just type in on your tablet, your phone, whatever device you have, and then archive those for yourself. Now today, we're going to look at how we impact our faith in those around us, and then the debt we owe to the future. the next generation that's to come. Now, here's the reality. In general, only about 47% of America attends church. That means that 53% of the people don't. They're outside. Now, in our area here, the metro Milwaukee area, and specifically Menominee Falls, we're a little bit higher. It's about 60.8% of people actually attend church in this general area. And the breakdown is this. Just under 30%, 29.8% are Catholic, just if you wanted to know. Just under 15% are Lutheran, 14.9%. And then the 7.5% are another Christian faith. So that's the Baptists, the Presbyterians, us non-denominational. Those of us that we just kind of flow in a lot of different areas. That's one thing that I love about our church. You know, next week when you're at Starting Point with me, I'll ask you if you have any kind of religious or faith background, and if you don't, that's fine, because a number of people don't. This is the first place they've ever been. But we'll go around the room and just, if you can say in one word, well, you know, I was Catholic, or I was Presbyterian, or I was Baptist, or I was Methodist, I was Free Methodist, whatever. We go around the room, and that's what I love about our church. We're very eclectic. We come from a lot of different places. But here we're called non-denominationalists because we're not a part of a denomination. We're a part of a network of churches. And so it's very interesting in this area, and then the rest of the percentages are like 0.01, and they're very, very minute. But in this area, there is a desire for God. Now here's the good news. The good news is the people that we're looking to reach in our area have a religious foundation. Pretty much. 60.8% are aware of God. They've got some kind of a foundation. What you find is a lot of people are attending services, but they've never made that connection with God. I remember years and years ago, we were doing an outreach service, and we were always inviting Michelle's parents to come, Bob and Jean. Bob and Jean were good Lutheran people. They showed up at church. They tithed. When the building was being built up in Cedarburg, they gave to the building fund over and above their giving. And yet they had never made the connection with God. All those years, they sat and never really understood that God loved them, that Christ had died for them personally, and that He wanted to embrace them. They just never made that connection. So the good news is people in our area have a religious foundation. The bad news is that religious foundation produces a false sense of security in people. They think they're all right. They believe they're headed for heaven when they're really headed for hell. It's kind of like the Apostle Paul. When he was persecuting the church, he thought he was doing God a favor. He thought he was serving God, and his zeal was driving him on. The problem was, he wasn't. He was hindering the church. And God had to knock him off his high horse and blind him for a few days just to get him to actually see. So I remember, as clear as day, we had an outreach service and we gave an invitation. And I remember people were coming down the aisle, and there I saw Michelle's parents, Bob and Jean, come down, and they were just standing in front, and they prayed to receive Christ into their hearts. And the wonderful thing about this is we did both of their funerals. They're now in heaven with the Lord. But I remember one time I was sitting across the kitchen table at Bob's house, and he was talking to me about, he said, all those years I sat church, I never understood that I needed to, and then he stops and he goes, well, here's the trick. He said, it's not just about knowing it up here, you got to know it in your heart. And I'm like, wow, Bob, that's exactly what it is. It's not just about knowing information. He was confirmed, he was baptized, it was all that stuff. It was making that 12-inch drop from here to here. And so a lot of people in our area are like that. They know about God, they know facts about Him, but unfortunately, they're not headed in the right direction yet. Can you say amen? Amen. So God views people generationally. He loves the generations because generations coexist together. You know, He called Abraham, and then Abraham had a son named Isaac, and then Isaac had a son named Jacob, and then Jacob had a son named Joseph. And so He even calls Himself, He says, I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And in Psalm 112, we read this: how joyful are those who fear the Lord and delight in obeying His commands. Their children will be successful everywhere. An entire generation of godly people will be blessed. They themselves will be wealthy, and their good deeds will last forever. They are generous, compassionate, and righteous. Those who are righteous will long be remembered, because each of the generations honors those who came before them. And we honor the generation that came before us. We wouldn't be here if the last generation had dropped the baton of the gospel. So God thinks generationally. And seeing an entire generation come to faith in Christ doesn't happen by accident. It takes a lot of intentionality, just like we were doing today, just like in February when we launched life groups, reaching out. It takes a lot of intentionality. And it's interesting to me what people are intentional about and what they're not intentional about. I want you to think about this for a minute. People will plan for a wedding, but they don't plan for a marriage. Right? I mean, they will plan for a baby's room, a nursery, but they're not planning to be parents. It's so interesting to me. People will plan for retirement, but they won't plan for heaven. You see, if we don't intentionally give people the right things, we'll unintentionally give them the wrong things, and they'll never make that connection. We will set them up for failure if we don't help them. And so we need to advance the kingdom of God, because the world is not doing them any favors at all. In fact, the world's having them build on what I would call sinking sand. So I want you to pull your notes out with me. And there's three things that the world is bringing this next generation. I want you to write this down. Here's the first one. The world gives them praise they don't deserve. Great job! That's amazing! You got out of bed this morning. I mean, we're using the term awesome for everything. You know, awesome used to be reserved only for the Almighty. Our God, is an awesome God. That whole thing. Now everything's awesome. And here's the problem. When everything's awesome, nothing's awesome. Right? And so we've got a whole generation that is performing just for praise. Just to hear that. The world is giving them an inaccurate view of reality. You see, there's a limit to saying you can achieve anything you want. That's true, but there's also a limit to that. They may not be able to achieve everything they want. Reality shows, whenever they have a panel, they always have at least one person on there that's going to be gut-level honest with people, right? America's Got Talent, they got Simon Cowell, right? He's just going to tell it like it is. If nobody else is, he's going to say it. Or if you watch Shark Tank, you've got Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful. He'll sit there and people will be encouraging. He says, don't encourage them. Stop that. That's not honest. They're going to fall flat on their face. You need to take that idea that you are calling a business, take it around back the barn and shoot it. I mean, he's just really honest with them. You need people to ground this culture so that they understand that maybe the idea isn't great. And so you've got an entire generation coming up like that. They're jaded. And here's the thing, they've stopped believing because everything's awesome. Everything's amazing. Everything's a great job. And it may not be. And young families, let me just say this, or if you're planning on getting married, or if you're married, you're planning on having kids, wherever you fall within that spectrum, listen, your child is going to learn the word no. He or she will say no to you. You'd better teach them what no really means. Because you're the boss, they're the applesauce, right? No means no. And no has consequences to it. You know, in our house, it was 3 strikes and you're out. You're out, buddy. I won't go into too many details on that because I think you're getting a picture right now. But teach children that you will do them a world of good just by helping them to understand there's boundaries and there's safety in the boundaries. Can you say amen? Here's the second thing that I want you to write down. The world gives them things they didn't earn all the time. Birthday party by Pinterest. Ponies, bouncy house, DJs, clowns, magicians, flamethrowers. I mean, everything. That 2-year-old will have a birthday that they remember forever. They just pile all this stuff on him. 11 years old, he's got a $700 cell phone with unlimited data plan. 16 years old, she's got expensive designer purses, and she's driving a better car than her teachers are. Got to be careful. If we're not careful, we're going to raise up a generation of entitled people. They think this is the norm. They expect this. You know, in 2008, the government bailed out the mortgage industry. They bailed out banks. They bailed out auto workers, and that was very controversial at that time, whether that was right or not. Here we are, 2020, and the government's bailing everybody out. You get a check, you get a check. It's like a big Oprah moment, you know, I mean, everybody gets a check. Now, here's the caveat on that. I understand that people needed checks, and that's very real. There has to be a safety net. But there also has to be a limit, too, and responsibility. See, we're paying a little bit of a price now because we paid people to stay home. And now it's time to go back to work again, and people aren't so sure. I'm telling you, you're standing by the mailbox in vain. It ain't coming. You need to bootstrap it, baby. Come on, you need to just get up and get to work again. We've got to get our nation back to work, and we will get the nation back to work. I know we will. I'm the eternal optimist when we get, into that kind of stuff. So we've just got to be careful. We've got to be careful. Here's the third thing I want you to write down. The world gives them freedoms they can't handle. They're getting freedoms that they can't handle. Any video game, any TV show, unfiltered internet, cable, tablets, phones, computer, no guidelines for accountability whatsoever. They didn't learn no. Listen, people sending out their 15-year-old daughter on a car date with a walking hormone. Are you kidding me? You got to be careful. Don't do it. It's a PG-rated service, all right? You see, instead of setting up the next generation for success, the world is giving them everything they don't need and can't handle. And that's the devil right there. He will take you farther than you want to go, keep you longer than you want to stay, take you deeper in sin that you want to be. He will push you. And if he can't keep you off the horse, he will help you get on and throw you over the thing. So we've just got to be careful. But it's not to be like that amongst us. Can you say amen? Come on, we can do better than that. We're the church, right? Come on. You see, just before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, Pastor Mike, are you going to pull this message up at any time soon? Are we going to bail out while we're still over land here? Don't worry, we're going to go up in just a minute. But just before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, and then there were two other towns that no one ever talks about, Admah and Zeboim, they perished as well. Just before he did that, he talked about Abraham, his servant. And in Genesis 18, verse 17, he says this, "And the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham what I am doing? And this is why, since Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I have known him, in order that he may command his children and his household after him, that they keep the way of the Lord." And by the way, let me just stop here. His children and his household meant that it was not only his descendants, but it was all those that were working for him as well. So business owners, please take note that we command not only our families, but also our businesses as well, after that they keep the way of the Lord. Here it is, to do righteousness and justice, that the Lord may bring to Abraham what he has spoken to him. This was the promise to bring that. And so I want to give you a foundation to build on. And I want to give you three things that are going to really, really help you. And here's the first thing I want you to write down. We owe a debt to the future, so let's give them a community worth having. Okay? In Deuteronomy chapter 6, we read this, and this is called the Shema, because in Hebrew, Shema means to hear. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Now, this is talking about the Trinity, and we need to realize we're talking about one what and three whos. The one what is the essence or being of God. The three whos are the Father, say it with me, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The Trinity is three distinct people. And by the way, you cannot have any kind of community without three. Two is not community. You have to have a minimum of three for community. And the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit invite us into their fellowship, into their community. See, in the Old Testament, you had parents, you had children, you had adult siblings, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, grandparents, even workers, sometimes as many as 80 people living in the same place together as a faith community. And this is why, because kids do better growing up within the confines of a family and an extended family as well. They're rooted and grounded in that way. They do much better in life. Michelle and I, we grew up in a smaller town, and I went to school from kindergarten to high school with a lot of the same kids. Now, there were kids that came in and out and transferred, but there was this core of kids. We started in kindergarten together, and by the time high school came, we knew a lot about one another. And we got along together for the most part. But family is important. We find that out every Thanksgiving, don't we? Having family together. We used to go to Michelle's grandmother's house, Grandma Keller. Of course, her grandparents had 4 daughters. Their 4 daughters all got married. They all had kids. Their kids had kids. Their kids had kids ad infinitum. So you'd walk into the basement, and it was just overflowing with people. Her grandfather made this table that was like longer than I've been away from home. I mean, it was so big, you could seat about 40 people around this table, and then we still had to set up card tables. You know, the kiddie tables, remember when you were sitting at the card table, and all you want to do, I can't wait till I get to sit at the big table with the adults. Well, man, you were on like a rotation system there. You weren't going to get to the big table for a long time. Just the way it was. But it was the anchor of having those family memories together that really help us. Because this is true. Anywhere in the world, the family is disintegrated, society is disintegrated. And you can take that to the bank. Anywhere family is disintegrated, society is disintegrated. See, we have to understand that strong families, strong churches, strong communities never happen by accident. And we love and we embrace the people that are watching online today. You are welcome to be a part, but I'm telling you, it's not a substitute for gathering. It's just not. It's convenient, but it's not community. And that's why gathering together is so important. It's the public witness of the church. And so this month, coming in December, instead of having a first Wednesday service, we are going to have a big fellowship dinner together. We're calling it around the table, all right? And we're going to have like spaghetti with meat sauce, and we're going to have salad, and we're going to have other things. I don't know, all sorts of other things. There's going to be, just food. And we're going to set up tables, and we're just going to hang out together and just talk. Because, we say this in this church, we prefer circles over rows. Because rows, you're just basically fellowshipping at the back of somebody's head right now, right? But circles, you get to see everyone's face. And so here's the deal. We'll take some walk-ins, but we want to have people knowing that you're coming by tomorrow night. We have sign-ups in the back of the auditorium. It's just a plain black table. Hey, sign up, let us know you're coming. Look, it's $5, and kids 12 and under, it's $1 for the whole meal, okay? Just come, sit around. We're going to laugh. At the end, we're going to have communion together. It's going to be fun. And then Saturday, whoa, buddy, all the women are getting together. Woo! Come on. And this place is going to be bumping with a whole lot of estrogen. I'll be here. I'll just be kind of like this, I'll help out. I'll stack chairs. It's all good. Hey, you ladies have a great time. I love it when ladies get together. Man, the decibel level goes up, the pitch goes up. It's really good. Women know how to, why women have such a great time together? Because they cut to the chase. They talk about stuff that men will never go there. Yeah, Michelle's family, 4 women, 4 aunts. They would be talking about the grossest stuff right before Thanksgiving dinner. They would be talking about poopy diapers. They'd be talking about all this stuff. Can you save that conversation, please? They just went there. And that's why ladies get so tight, and it takes men just a while. We get tight as men. It either takes just a good football game or sometimes war, just to connect together. But it's good. So we're going to be doing that. Please sign up for that. We're taking the cap off. We're not capping it, either event, but we just want to know you're coming, so please do that. Culture, though, our culture that we live in, the culture we're called to transform, pushes us away from community. And this is how they do it. They celebrate independence. They celebrate independence. To be independent is distinctly non-Christian. In fact, it's non-American to be independent. Now, I know I'm kind of messing with you guys for a minute, but let me explain what I mean. We're not called to be independent. We're called to be dependent on one another. We're called to love one another. We're called to encourage one another. We're to be devoted to one another. We're to accept one another. We're to be patient with one another. We're to forgive one another. We're to be kind and compassionate to each other. We're to submit to one another. This is all scriptural. I can give you scripture for all this. We're to pray for one another. We're to help one another. We're not called to be separate and independent. We're called to be dependent on each other. You see, when the next generation has a sense of community, you don't do drugs because we don't. The next generation You keep your virginity because we're all working on purity together. Can you say amen? We're together in this. You don't have to struggle alone with these things. It's the value of being together. We multiply our joys, we divide our sorrows. You believe in God because we all believe in God. Listen, we don't come to church, we are the church. Can you say amen? Come on, that is just as true as it can be. And we gather together, and it's not just me or us. It's hundreds, it's thousands, it's millions, it's even billions of people all around the world in the Big C church that are calling on the name of Christ. And it is important not just to be part of the Big C church, but to have a local church home, a place where people know your name, where you can put some roots down. That's why we do Starting Point every week. We don't do it because it's easy. We don't do it because it's convenient. We do it because we want to offer 52 connection points every Sunday so that more and more people can put down roots in the local church and have a community. Can you say amen? Amen. Here's the second thing that we owe the next generation. We need to give them a standard worth achieving. We need to give them a high standard. In Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 5, we read this: "You shall love the Lord your God with some of your heart." No, say it with me. All your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. Not just part of you, all of you. Not just when it's convenient, all the time. Not just when your friends aren't making fun of you, always. We're to love them in that way. You know, in the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 28, we read this: "Therefore, since we are receiving a kingdom which cannot be shaken, let us have grace, by which we may serve God acceptably with reverence and godly fear." And this is why: "For our God is a consuming fire." Now, when we're talking about God being a consuming fire, we're not loving Him because we're afraid of Him. That's not what the writer of Hebrews is saying. We're loving God with all our heart because His love for us is all-consuming. The fire of His love for us consumes us. It embraces us. It engulfs us. And therefore, we serve Him because He first loved us. And we love Him because He gave His life for us first. Before we even knew we needed a Savior, He came and died for us first. That's why we love Him. We're becoming consumed with Him. See, Jewish cultures and families saturate the next generation from little on in God. Now, what I'm going to tell you is going to shock you. But in Jesus' day, by the time a boy or a girl were 12 years old, they memorized the book of Genesis, the book of Exodus, the book of Leviticus, the book of Numbers, the book of Deuteronomy, assorted Psalms, and the prophets. By the age of 12, they memorized all of that. Their foundation in the Word was solid. At the age of 13 is the rite of passage into adulthood for Jewish boys and girls. It's called a bar mitzvah, or if you're a girl, bat mitzvah. Bar mitzvah means son of the commandments or son of the law. Bat mitzvah means daughter of the commandments or daughter of the law. And they raised children this way. You see, the concept of a teenager didn't exist until after the Great Depression. In fact, the word didn't even show up in the English language really until it showed up in the Reader's Digest volume in 1941. Teenager had never even really been heard before. See, Paul said, when I was a child, I talked and I thought like a child, but when I became a man, I put away the childish things. He didn't say, when I became a teenager, I looked like a man, but I acted like a child. Okay? He didn't say that. You see, we've created a category of adults that they have all the privileges, but none of the responsibility. I would call them kidults. Okay? No clear sense or urgency or direction. They're experiencing either too much fun or they're afraid to grow up. And we've done that. That's our fault. You know, it's rare that you get more than you ask for. But I think it'd be a good idea right now, I mean, like at the end of 2021, going into 2022, to start raising the bar on ourselves and on our children. Can you say amen? Hey, kids, how about next summer, instead of getting a part-time job, why don't you start a business? Why don't you do something that's going to generate income that you own? Instead of being the most popular kid at school, how about being the most popular kid for Christ? Come on, instead of falling in with the crowd and drinking with them and doing drugs with them, how about seeing your body as the temple of the Holy Spirit? Invite them over to your house for a change and let them be a part and see how a Christian family functions. Instead of not trying to get pregnant, how about pursuing purity? Come on, we need to raise the bar. You know, instead of just going to church, how about serving at church? Come on, I love all the red t-shirts that say JV, Serve Team, Dream Team. I love that. Because that just means that these kids they're taking a step. They're not waiting until they're 25, 30, 35 years old. They're doing the stuff now. And I think it's important. You know, mainline churches have confirmation classes. Maybe we should do something like that here, Pastor Denny. Maybe we should develop something like confirmation classes, like a Christian version of the bar mitzvah. I'm not saying you got to memorize the first 5 books of the Bible, but maybe there should be something like more of a rite of passage so that kids understand they're entering into something that's significant when you turn 13. It's not just, I'm a teenager anymore. Can you say amen? Amen. You know, instead of how little we can get by with, how much can we accomplish? Especially as a church. Come on, Metro Harvest, why don't we set the standard for our area? How about taking some of that 60.8% and just showing them that there's so much more that can be accomplished? And so we owe this next generation, and I'm finishing up, a community worth having, a standard worth achieving, and we need to give them a faith worth reproducing. Write that down. In Deuteronomy chapter 6, we read this, "And these words which I command you today shall be in your heart. Repeat them again and again to your children." I read this last week. Talk about them when you are at home and when you are on the road and when you're going to bed and when you're getting up. You know, parents, your children need to see you worshiping God. They need to see you loving God. They need to see you fully devoted to God's Word. They need to see you reading God's Word and taking it in on a daily basis. They need to see you and me drawing near to Him in prayer and praying for them when they go to bed. Even if they're too little to understand it, lay hands on your children and pray over them. They need to see you praying for them when they go off to school. You know, Pastor Craig Groeschel says this, as kids get older, they have a built-in fake detector. They can smell fake. Inauthenticity. They can smell that. You know, like, man, who faked in here? Ooh, it doesn't smell good. They know that. They can tell that. They can sense that. And so, it's PG. And so, they need to hear us sharing our faith with other people, opening up our home, doing our best to be a good steward, being generous, and helping them to be generous as well. Man, from little on, from the time our kids were taking math, we taught them how to tithe by moving the decimal point because we wanted them to be blessed in their finances and see God's hand in their life from little on. And maybe your kids are grown and raised, but maybe there's grandkids on the way, grandparents. You can teach them these things and raise them in the fear and the admonition along with the Lord and along with your children. Can you say amen? You know, next week we've got a legacy offering. And for those of you that are newer at our church, we always take the month of December, and every Sunday we give you an opportunity to give into 4 different legacy lanes, we call them. And the first legacy lane is Metro Harvest Projects. That's the very first lane. And that has to do with the building, that has to do with future facility planning, keeping the facilities doing well, continuing to reduce. Oh, you guys wrote all this out. Okay, reduce our mortgage and save for future expansion. That's lane 1, and maybe that's burning in your heart to see that. Lane 2 is this. It's ministry expansion and church planting. We want to continue to expand, so that's giving towards future multi-site campuses for us and church planting nationally through the network of related pastors, which we belong to, and for the Association of Related Churches, ARC, who we also belong to. Here's lane 3, local missions, teen challenge, women's care center, Menominee Falls Food Pantry, school district of Menominee Falls, community memorial hospital, redeem, restore, and other outreach projects. We have money set aside we're going to be releasing in December, specifically for the NICU, for the moms who do not have enough to afford baby supplies. We are going to be funding those moms in needs and making sure that they know that there is a community of Christians that care about them. Here's the 4th lane that you can give to if you like. Global missions, mission and compassion ministries to Asia, Nepal, Mexico, Israel, global planting through Surge, discipleship and outreach. So those 4 lanes, and we'll talk more about that next week, but begin asking the Lord, God, what lane am I excited about the most? Some people, they've got an amount, they just say, hey, divide it amongst all 4. But you don't have to. Maybe it's just, I want to put all the money towards this one thing. But we understand that generosity is something that our kids need to see. In fact, in Psalm 22, verse 30, and I'm finishing with this, it says, our children will also serve him. That needs to be a faith confession for you today. Our children will also serve him. Future generations will hear about the wonders of the Lord. That's my word to you today, everybody. And so today, if you're far away from God, I want you to close the gap today. Because we're about to go into a season that we're coming up on that is not only busy, but it's potentially the season with the greatest joys and the greatest sorrows. You know, more suicides happen in the month of December than all the other months of the year combined. And so it's be a good time for you to close the gap between you and the Lord. And if you're watching today, I want to encourage you, don't be a stranger. Don't be far apart. God, by His Spirit, is reaching out to you. And He's pulling you in close to Himself. Because His desire is for you. He's created each and every one of us in a unique and special way. And so what better way than to go into this month of celebrating the coming of Christ, the Advent, with receiving Him into your hearts. I just love every head to be bowed right now, every eye closed. I just sense the Lord here. And He's not just here because He keeps His promise that where 2 or 3 are gathered, He's here in our midst. He's here because He chooses. Because He loves to be with us. And when you leave this place, He'll pursue you. Let Him overtake you with His love for you and His presence. If you're here today and you would say, Mike, I don't really know for sure where I stand with God. I may even be in that percentage that was told I was heading in the right direction, but I don't have a 100% assurance that I'm headed for heaven. If you're watching or if you're here, you don't have to leave here wondering. John said, "These things are written so that you may know that you have eternal life." So with every head bowed and every eye closed, I just want to pray for you. And I want to help you make that connection with God. I'm not going to ask you to walk up here, but if you need and would like to be included in that prayer, just very quickly, I want you to just let me know, let the Lord know. Just lift up your hand if that's you. Just say, "Mike, include me in on that prayer." Yes, God bless you. Others, yes. Yes, all the way in back. God bless you. Others. Yeah. Good job. Yes, God bless you. You just want to be assured and you want to be close to the Lord. And if you're at home, just lift up your hand wherever you're watching this. Even if it's another day than today, God knows that. That's it. Just raise your hand. Say, "I'm in. Count me in." I'd like all of us just to agree with those that have raised their hand this morning and agree in this prayer. And there's nothing special about it, but if you make it your own, God will hear you from a sincere heart. Just repeat after me out loud. "Lord Jesus, I give you my life today. You died for me and rose from the dead for me. Forgive me of all my sins and redeem me. Restore me, God. My life is yours, and I choose to follow you. Holy Spirit, help me today to walk close to the Lord all the days of my life. And I receive this as a gift, saving faith, and I thank you for it today. In Jesus' name, amen and amen.